Michael Bay's Transformers launched a $5 billion movie franchise. Let's break down the 2007 action-packed classic, Transformers.
What's up, movie friends? Welcome back to Raiders of the Lost podcast, the ultimate film and TV podcast. Man, I feel old calling Transformers a classic, but it's almost 20 years old.
That's insane.
It's getting into that territory of like you could call it a modern classic.
Oh my God.
Jeez, we're old. I remember seeing this in theaters. I remember it had a really great trailer, and everybody was super excited. Spielberg being involved as a producer and helping with the story was huge pedigree for it, being a DreamWorks film as well. Michael Bay coming off a huge career, emerging as a director. And then it had a really great Super Bowl trailer and a really great final trailer for theaters. And I remember like the shot, one of the key shots at the end was like the Transformer coming out of the pool with the little girl looking up at it. And nobody had ever seen that kind of visual effects before. A gigantic robot that looks very real and photorealistic interacting with our environment. So this film is an absolute action onslaught. Also, this is an unbelievable display of visual effects wizardry from the team at ILM, who pulled off a feat of CGI in this film that still holds up to this day and honestly looks better than the majority of large-scale blockbusters we've gotten in the last 10 years. A lot of this looks unbelievably realistic, and there are only a handful of shots I watched when we watched this film last night that I pointed out, okay, that looks like CGI. But overall, this film works on a visual effects level, unlike many films we've seen nowadays. You can put this up there, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest with Davy Jones and that unbelievable visual effects work in that film. But this is just an unbelievable and awe-inspiring display of visual effects artistry.
I think Davy Jones is on a different level, bud.
That is
different level. Yeah. That's incredible.
I think
actually looks real. That's like Avatar level good. But it really did look phenomenal. It looked great. And I think it's because Michael Bay, per suggestion from Steven Spielberg, shot everything in camera and did everything practical for the most part, except for the Transformers. Spielberg's like, just make the Transformers CGI visual effects. Everything else try to do in camera. Some of the explosions aren't, but a lot of the explosions and destruction in this movie are practical filmmaking. I mean, if you watch any Michael Bay movie, there's no short of pyrotechnics involved. And my goodness, they went 4th of July on this movie because so many explosions, so many bombs, so much smoke. It's fantastic. I had a great time. 2007, kind of a long time ago. And this movie feels so in that culture of the 2000s.
Our
angsty
time.
Teenagers, the Linkin Park and the soundtrack. The music's awesome. Michael Bay's style, it's so fast-paced, so energetic. The constant moving camera that's transitioning from even inside a control room with analysts and screens where the camera's whipping like crazy to match the action sequences where the action's all over the place. IMDb, this movie's a 7.1. That's pretty well liked.
Yeah.
With 692,000 ratings, 2007 again release dates. Rotten Tomatoes, it's a 57%. Rotten score, 85%. Critic score with over 250,000 ratings. So audiences love Transformers. That's why we're doing this.
85% audience score.
That's what I said. What did I say?
Critic score.
85% audience score.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Audiences love it.
The audience is what matters. And there's even more. So this franchise is not liked by critics, but loved by fans. Again, 20% for the sequel, 35% Rotten Tomatoes for the third, 18%, 16% for the Marky Mark ones. Bumblebee, highest rated, 91%. But if you look at the cinema scores, A, B+, A minus, B+, A minus, A minus. So audiences love these movies.
Yeah, and they do a great job with the cinema scores. All factors in marketing, your release, box office performance, critical performance. So a lot goes into that cinema score. In Letterboxd, it's 3.2. Not terrible.
Better than I thought.
For a big robot action movie. But on a budget of $147 million, though, this movie killed $709 million at the global box office. Its runtime, though, it's a bit long.
You feel it.
2 hours and 24 minutes.
It's 24 minutes too long.
For Transformers, which you feel because on the rewatch, I hadn't seen this movie in a decade. It's been a long time. Mm-hmm. And we watched it a bunch when we were younger. It was always on TV. I can confirm. We Transformers watched this all the time when we were kids. And I was so invested for like the first hour and a half of this movie. I was in. I loved the characters. It's campy. It's silly. Fun cameos. Bernie Mac coming in for like 2 minutes is hysterical. but Shia carries this movie so well. The characters are great. We have like 3 big storylines going on. We have the military special forces guys, we have the analysts with the NSA and with the Secretary of Defense, and then we have Shia, who plays Sam as well as Michaela, their storyline, and they all connect throughout the course of the film. Those are the 3 leads and three story beats. And it worked for a while, but then, you're like 2 hours into this movie, you're like, can we wrap this up personally?
Yeah.
I was getting a little sleepy.
If you look at this film, it actually has a very similar structure to Indiana Jones' Raiders of the Lost Ark. So it opens with an action sequence revealing the world, and this is we get the Transformer helicopter that attacks the Navy base, right, in the desert in Qatar. And then we get an exposition dump by a character in a classroom, Sam Witwicky. He's got the map. He's got trinkets from history. He's explaining the lore that we're going to end up learning more about. And then we go on an adventure. Government officials get involved. The first act is very Indiana Jones-esque.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I just kept thinking of Indy the first 30 minutes of this movie.
I mean, Spielberg's probably like, hey, man, just look what I did with Raiders.
Just do what I did. Just copy and paste.
This movie had 5 writers, though. We had John Rogers, Roberto Orci, and Alex Kurtzman did the story, and the screenplay was done by Roberto Orci and Alex Kurtzman. So I'm sorry, 3 writers.
Those were JJ guys.
JJ guys,
from
gotcha.
Lost. Yeah.
Now
they both were the writers of the first 2 Star Trek movies, I believe.
That's right. So a quick synopsis for Transformers.
Make it quick.
The fate of humanity is at stake when 2 races of robots, the good Autobots and the villainous Decepticons, bring their war to Earth. The robots have the ability to change into different mechanical objects as they see key to ultimate power, but only human Sam Witwicky can save the world from total destruction. This movie was nominated for 3 Academy Awards: Best Visual Effects, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Sound Editing, which are now the same category today.
And it's one of the most highly successful franchises of all time. With only 7 films, it's grossed $5.2 billion.
Goodness!
That's very impressive. You're looking at that's $700 million per average for film.
Transformers 1, I think, is the worst performer, though, right?
Yeah. Transformers 1 was a dud. $140 million global.
That's it?
Global box office.
Oh, my gosh.
For the whole film. So nobody was interested in seeing that movie. And then I think that Transformers really works live action. I've only seen the 3 Shia ones and then Transformers 1. That's all I've seen in the franchise. So I don't have any familiarity at all with the Mark Wahlberg films. I'm not sure, but they are super successful, but I've only seen the first 3. And I always thought they were a good time in theaters. This is huge scale filmmaking, gigantic blockbuster. You're never going to see anything like this. It's pure escapism. It's silly, it's campy, it's made for kids and families alike, as well as, anybody. I think anybody can watch this film and enjoy it if you're a fan of sci-fi. And I mean, Barbie was such a big hit, but we all forgot Hasbro has been in the game making billions for years with Transformers.
Yeah, and they've just been dudding with G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
They wanted to do G.I. Joe first, but then they went with Transformers and then developed it from there. And Michael Bay, man, I love Michael Bay so much. He's sort of a guilty pleasure director for me at this point because his movies are just outrageously fast-paced, aggressive with their editing and cinematography and action sequences. As soon as the movie starts with a Michael Bay film, he grabs you by the shirt and just pummeling you with quick cuts, fast editing, camera movements all over the place, high contrast. The lighting makes no sense in so many scenarios, but it's whatever. And there's so many continuity mistakes that they're goofs, but they just fly by because you're like, you know what? I'm watching Transformers. It's no big deal. But man, his style is just so addicting in a lot of ways. It's like drinking an energy drink when you watch a Michael Bay movie.
Mountain Dew Code Red.
Yeah, it's like drinking an energy drink when you watch a Michael Bay movie because you feel so hyped up for the first hour, and then you kind of start to crash a little bit, if that makes sense.
There are some really great visuals in the film. The opening shot of the shadow of the 4-propeller helicopter in the shadows dancing on the dunes of the desert. That was the opening shot of the movie. I was like, what the? That's great.
Bro, the opening sound of this movie,
yes.
I got Dune vibes. It feels like Dune kind of was influenced by the opening of this movie because before the logos come up in Paramount, we hear a and it's a black screen. I'm like, this is Dune.
Hans helped out with the score. He did. And then there's also a great shot of the helicopter coming to camera, but in the silhouette of the sun.
Awesome shot.
There's some great imagery. Michael Bay, I'm happy that I've always defended him, even though I haven't seen all of his films. You can compare him to Zack Snyder. They're visual geniuses. They know how to frame. They know how to move the camera, and they keep it exciting. And I think they have really incredible talent for keeping audiences interested in what's happening on screen. This is a movie about giant robots, but still he threw in some really cool imagery like those shots we talked about, as well as many others. And then, I mean, the orchestration of movies of this scale with giant stunt work, giant pyrotechnics, huge cast of characters. There are a lot of actors in this movie. Huge cast. Vehicles, working with the military. You got helicopters, you got jets, you got all manner of road vehicles. It's a huge undertaking, and it takes a certain kind of person to be able to control that set and still keep it steamrolling. On top of the fact that the visual effects are so impressive, it takes a long time to get those effects done. Now, to keep in mind, Paramount greenlit this film, and they had a release date set before there was even a screenplay written. They bought the IP rights, picked the release date, and then they started hiring writers. So they had to write the film, shoot it, and then finish post-production in time for the release date. So that's a challenge in itself. So when you're shooting the film, you have to be precise so that your visual effects team, because there are thousands of visual effects shots in this movie, so that your team can work as quickly as they can to make the visual effects work around the actual physical photography of the film.
Yeah, because you're just shooting emptiness. Like, a camera's like shooting up in a skyscraper and coming down to the ground. It's like, yeah, we're going to put a transformer in there.
Every single frame of visual effects in this movie took ILM 36 hours to render. Every single frame. So you need to be able to get this movie shot efficiently without many reshoots. Otherwise, they would never be able to get visual effects for reshoots done in time for release. So I think it was a great success overall. Michael Bay handled this film so well, obviously making it 4 more of them. I think 3 more of them after this. So he made Transformers a major part of his career. I'm sure it made him worth a lot of money. He got paid and he got to have a lot of fun. And I think it's just a really fun escapist blockbuster. And yeah, it's a good time.
He was asked by Spielberg to direct in July 2005, but he dismissed it as a stupid toy movie. But he admitted that he was skeptical and always wanted to work with Steven Spielberg because of the respect he had for him. So he visited Hasbro and just got inspired and gained respect for the company, and he decided to and then he saw the first couple drafts. At first, they were, to him, too kiddie, so he actually increased the military in its role in the film because it's a very U.S. military movie. You know, they worked with the Department of Defense and the U.S. military. They got approval because they accurately depicted military life and forces, and this is the biggest movie that the Department of Defense has worked on and partnered with since Black Hawk Down before this, which was 2001, I believe. And they had all 4 services of America's military members and combat power in the big screen. It was filmed at several Air Force bases, including Edwards AFB, Holloman AFB, Kirtland AFB in New Mexico. The military also provided their vehicles as the alternate modes of the Decepticon, Starscream, and Bone Crusher. They also allowed their F-22s and CV-22s aircraft to be filmed, the first time these planes had been seen in a feature film since Hulk in 2003. And the movie was a great recruiting tool, obviously, because it put a face on what service members do when they're not, defending the country against giant robots.
People talk about only Top Gun. This movie, these movies for sure.
So many, hundreds and hundreds of airmen and military personnel in real life were able to be in the movie as extras in the background, which is really cool. Plus, real-life military footage was used in the movie, including footage from the 965th Airborne Air Control Squadron. And also the movie, it depicts accurately how airmen coordinate airstrikes, like with that battle on the Decepticons in Qatar.
Also, so there's that mustached pilot that they always use as a hologram.
The generic
pilot. The generic. That was actually a real military pilot.
A pirate?
A pirate. He was a pirate. A mustached pirate. He was a real military pilot who Spielberg and Michael Bay, when they met him, thought he had a perfect look for what they had in mind for how this hologram representation of a person by the Decepticon should look. And so they cast him in that role. That guy was a real pilot. And he actually, by reports, had to cancel his wedding and reschedule it because this shooting was during that period he had booked already. So
pretty easy role. Just sit in the cockpit or in the driver's seat.
And also, the military also provided thousands of real authentic uniforms for all of the actors and extras on set. So pretty much all of the military outfits are from the military.
And I think Michael Bay is probably one of the only directors that could have pulled this off in terms of the scale, the practical filmmaking, because he has a very fast-paced shooting style. You know, he's like James Cameron. He works very fast, and he serves as his own assistant director that James Cameron does as well oftentimes. He also took a 30% reduction in his fee to keep the production in Los Angeles and work with his usual crew because, you know, his crew works as fast as him. They know what he likes to do. They know his ins and outs. And so by doing that, you're shooting on schedule, you're shooting quickly, you're shooting on budget, and also you're keeping the practical filmmaking. You're not just relying, oh, we'll figure this out in post with visual effects.
I think that, I mean, it helps so much when a director can stay with their team. I saw a Robert Eggers interview talking about Nosferatu, and they asked about the Northman, and he said New Regency was really amazing because he was surprised they let him bring all of his previous heads of department onto the Northman, which helped him with that shoot, which was by far the biggest thing he'd ever done. Such a step up, literally $80 million more than any movie he had made before. And so having his previously collaborated with heads of department on that huge film helped him like stay afloat during that gigantic production. So it's very important for your regular collaborators as a director to work with you on as many projects as you can. So I'm sure it helped a ton with the shooting.
And the locations are awesome. I mean, they shot this at the Hoover Dam.
And
the Pentagon.
Yeah, they also went from the Hoover Dam to downtown Los Angeles in 3 minutes.
Griffith Observatory. No one would ever know, but they shot the Hoover Dam and Pentagon the first time both those locations were used for filming since the September 11th attacks in 2001. And I think that's really cool that the external Hoover Dam scenes were shot before tourists arrived daily at 10 a.m., with shooting moving inside for the remainder of the day. Production in California was based at Hughes Aircraft at Playa Vista, where the hangar in which Megatron is imprisoned was built. 6 weekends were spent in Los Angeles, California, shooting the climactic battle, with some elements being shot on the Universal Studios.
I noticed.
backlot.
I recommended that. I recognized
some
that.
of the car driving.
It's like
sequences.
cutting from the backlot to downtown LA so many times.
You can
If
tell.
you've done the tour, you're like, oh my god.
It's where the cars go.
But you don't notice it your first time watching.
And they were allowed to shoot at the Griffith Observatory, which was closed at the time for renovations and then eventually reopened in 2006. So the observatory was closed from 2002 to 2006.
And
they're getting rebuilt.
They were only able to shoot there because the city rejected them at first. But Leonard Nimoy, of all people, Leonard Nimoy, he allowed it to happen as an official.
Does he own the observatory?
I think he's a representative of the observatory
That's really
of
cool.
many, like on a board or something. So he was able to convince the city to approve the shooting. He's also been involved in the Transformers franchise. Nimoy voiced Megatron's successor, Galvatron, in Transformers the movie in 1986, and then went on to voice Optimus Prime's predecessor, Sentinel Prime, and Transformers Dark of the Moon. So because of Leonard Nimoy and his wife Susan, they were able to get the Griffith Observatory. And you know what? It looks really good. It looks really good.
This movie also destroyed home media. Destroyed it. So the DVD of Transformers sold 8.3 million copies in its first week, making it the fastest selling DVD of 2007 in North America. And it also sold 190,000 copies of HD DVD, high def DVD, which was
before
the
Blu-ray,
biggest debut on the format. The DVD sold 13.7 million copies total in that year. The film grossed $303 million in home media sales.
Jesus.
Transformers. So it's a $1 billion movie when you count in home media.
that would have been fine if it just grossed that much in theaters.
And that's how
still
much-
breaking even.
That's how much movies have changed, where so many movies, especially big pictures like this, you're getting a second win. You're getting a second box office once home media gets released. And Matt Damon had that great interview a couple years ago, how that's kind of gone. You know, studios can't depend really on a second win like this, like they used to.
Yeah, there's also a lot of product placement in this film. I like
Mountain Dew.
the Mountain Dew box thing turns into an Autobot. And
There's also Mountain Dew in the cabin of the Air Force One.
Mountain Dew was hot back then.
Yeah.
Everybody was drinking it.
Oh yeah, guzzling that down.
Guzzling it. Also, GM, the car manufacturer, had a huge collaboration with Paramount for Transformers, saving $3 million. The company provided many of the alternate modes of the Autobots. They were GM cars, and also provided 200 cars blown up in the battle in Los Angeles. So they had huge amounts of advertising this film, and they had released that the 2009 Camaro. It was not released yet. The yellow Camaro that Bumblebee ends up picking for his disguise, that was released in 2009. So this was basically a giant car commercial for that.
Obviously, because I haven't seen this movie in at least 10 years, I never noticed that there's a Kill Bill reference with Bumblebee in this movie. And it makes total sense. It's when Bumblebee is driving Michaela and Shia through that tunnel, and Michaela says, "Why does it turn into this piece of shit Camaro?" And then he kicks him out of the car. He turns around. He goes, does the side wheelie, scans the new yellow Camaro, the 2009 one, and then comes back as the new fresh Camaro with the fresh paint job, obviously yellow, black stripes. And the Kill Bill song, Battle Without Honor or Humanity, which was huge in the marketing campaign for Kill Bill, that song. It's obviously a reference to Kill Bill with the music and Beatrix's outfit when she's dressed up as the killer.
It's such a great reference, and this was still when Kill Bill was very much in the zeitgeist, only a few years after Kill Bill Part 2.
I never picked up on it.
I never picked up on it. But I'm sure, I mean, we were still pretty young, so I'm sure movie fans were like, oh shit, that's Kill Bill. But also, Bumblebee's originally, he's supposed to be a buggy, a yellow buggy.
Beetle, Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nickname Buggy.
Oh yeah, that's right. Nickname's Buggy.
It's a little buggy. Nobody calls it a Beetle.
That's what you're supposed to call it because that's what it's called.
I'm calling it a buggy.
If you went to Volkswagen and you saw the package of what it's called the Volkswagen Beetle.
I opened up the package and then there's a Beetle.
Yeah.
You're right. It's both of these things. It's both of them. We saw that representation in Bumblebee in 2018, the Haley Steinfeld film.
Get her name right, Anthony.
Steinfeld? Sorry, Haley. And don't come after me, Josh.
She's unsubscribing.
Josh is going to hunt me down.
Josh Allen.
He's going to throw a football off my face. You get my wife's name right.
Steinfeld.
However, I think it was wise to make it the Camaro in this film because it's a very cool car. Even the old version of the Camaro.
What do you keep saying Camaro for? Is it because your girlfriend's British? You keep like saying Camaro.
It does throw me off. I think the making it a Camaro is cooler. It's better for toys to sell. You know, you're more likely to sell those than I think a Volkswagen Beetle buggy toy. And it's just badass.
It looked so good, especially when we were teenagers. Loved this car, and I'm telling you, I can only imagine how many fucking Camaros they sold after Transformers.
All of them.
So many, because Bumblebee in this movie was the fan favorite.
Yes.
You know, Optimus Prime's a badass. The other guys are cool, but Bumblebee was the guy. He's the surrogate of for the audience. He's really the connection with Sam and obviously Michaela. And I think Bumblebee became the favorite Transformer of the average person that was a fan or just watched this movie.
Yeah, I would say one of my main notes for the film that I think could have improved it a little bit more is if there was more Sam and Bumblebee. Like maybe if they had a nice scene together before it turned into mayhem at the end.
They built that eventually.
Yeah, in the other films.
Movies.
But I think in this film, I would have liked to have a little bit more of an emotional connection between the two.
There's no time for that in a Michael Bay movie, Anthony.
No time for emotions.
There are emotions, but it's
fun comedy, though.
Yeah,
There's some fun comedy.
The movie's very funny, and the cast is great. Do you know who plays Megatron in this movie?
Hugo Weaving.
I fucking blew my mind.
Agent Smith, baby.
Fucking blew my mind. But
Prime.
Dude, Shia in this movie
It's great.
Was the biggest star in his age range in the world. Superstar. Insanely charismatic, so confident, highly relatable. He has that sort of every guy, every man quality, especially in this movie. Seems like every kid kind of a loner, a couple friends here and there. He's not popular. Makes you feel like you can be this guy and you can pull a girl like Megan Fox. Who, obviously, Megan Fox, peak in Transformers. 2000s Megan Fox, man. Sexual awakening for many people. Josh Duhamel plays sort of a typical special forces in movies. He seems like a character who on the original script was the lead, but then he got demoted because they turned into a boy in this car is the main story.
No, I think they just added. They needed a military.
No, I'm saying what he feels like.
Okay.
I'm not saying that's the original thing.
He is like action hero prototype archetype.
He's an action lead without being the lead of a movie.
Yeah.
100% because Steven Spielberg came up with the idea of focusing on a boy with his car as sort of like the main storyline of this movie because it's really relatable, and in like America, that's a big thing for growing up is getting your first car, and I like that part of it with
you
Sam.
need a car to get babes.
Yeah, I mean Spider-Man. It works in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He's trying to get a car.
I don't think it works. I think it gets his uncle killed.
What I'm saying is,
It did not work.
The car. Fucking hell. But it relates to adulthood, especially in America.
Yeah, it's when you're a teenager, you want your own car. Absolutely.
When you get your own car,
1000%.
you finally feel like an adult.
I love the parents in this movie.
They're great.
They're really funny. They're really funny.
Kevin Dunn, he's always funny in his roles, and then Julie White is hysterical as well.
Sam's happy time.
Yeah, she's so good.
She's great.
She seemed like she was improvising in the cut scenes at the end of the credits, the end credit scenes.
I forgot about those.
Tyrese Gibson is just Tyrese Gibson, like usual, very funny. This whole movie has so many. The script's solid, but so much of it is for kids to understand. It's just like they're saying things that are happening or about to happen just very clearly so everyone understands the plot. Rachel Taylor plays Maggie, who's the top analyst for the type of...
The hottest analyst in history?
Yes. Anthony Anderson's really funny as a hacker as well.
I ate the whole plate.
She did it! She did it! I didn't do shit! John Voight, very convincible as a defense secretary. John Turturro steals every scene
he's the best act in this movie.
Agent Simmons from Sector 7, so funny. He looks like he just had so much fun with this role. And I think the movie's just cast very well. And then obviously, Optimus Prime.
You've got Stacy Peralta's in this.
Oh my!
From Dogtown, the Z Boys.
Oh, what's the name? Let me.
The actor who plays Stacy Peralta.
Yeah, his name.
I totally forgot he's in it. He climbs the tree.
Peter Cullen coming back for Optimus Prime was huge.
Yeah.
But his friend, the kid who plays Stacy Peralta in Lords of Dogtown.
I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot this guy was in this movie. Unreal.
But overall, the cast is really solid. And again, I think, Shia carries this movie on his shoulders. He's obviously the lead, even though we have 3 main storylines with a ton of characters. Ensemble cast here. Lots of action, lots of stuff going on. But whenever Shia's on camera, he's thrust into position to really... you're becoming the biggest star of your generation. This was the movie that did it for him. Obviously, a lot's happened since then. But this coming off of, Constantine in 2005. Disturbia, The Most Loneliest Day of My Life.
The most loneliest day of my life.
Even Stevens, the kid, became a superstar with this movie. And then Megan, obviously a great co-lead. Everyone fell in love with Megan Fox in this role. And they really, I think, fed into the public eye's controversy, or not controversy, but curiosity about them, just like how Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell did for that movie that they did last year.
Sure.
Feeding into rumors and dating rumors so well, which helped fuel the marketing campaign a lot, I think, for this movie.
It's ironic because that never happened with Tom Holland and Zendaya until they officially were a couple.
What didn't happen?
It wasn't like people weren't like, are they dating?
What are you talking about? Are you
guess
high?
I don't know. I guess
that's like the number one. Are they dating? I'm just saying they leaned into it, where Zendaya and Tom didn't lean into it. They kept it secret,
private. Yeah,
you're right.
You're okay.
There are signs, but that's all anyone's cared about for the last 4 years. They have to care whether or not they were dating.
I see the difference. Oh yeah, you're right.
I'm like, bro, where are you fucking been?
Shia is and always has been an excellent actor, and if it wasn't for his own issues and controversies that he seems to have recovered from and overcome, he would have been unbelievably huge. But he was maybe never destined to be a big action movie star or big blockbuster actor. He doesn't seem like that kind of actor, especially with so many of the more interesting roles he chose as he got older. But he's so good at selling it. You look at any action movie, there's plenty of films where you have lead or even important co-leads and they're in crazy situations, but they're not really selling it. You're not feeling the danger and you're not feeling the stakes and emotion on their face. But Shia, in every shot, he is dialed to 100, and you really feel the danger in every single movement, every facial tick. I think that's what you want. He really feels like he is in absolute danger and fear with every shot. And that's hard for a lot of actors to pull off believably. It's not just a lot of actors just scream or just get loud, but it's emotionally showing that danger. And I think he does an incredible job with this. I think you're right. He really does carry the film because as our representation being the surrogate audience member and the lead of the film, when he feels like he's in danger, it makes the stakes feel real.
He's ridiculously talented. And Sam's a character that, like I said, a lot of people can relate to. I feel like we've all been not chased by giant robots, but felt like, we're trying to get our shot. We're trying to find the girl. We're trying to find the guy. We're trying to get our car. We're trying to be impressive. We're trying to be popular. We're trying to fit in at the end of the day. We all just want to fit in. And I think he really captures that so well as for teenagers in movies with this in Disturbia, even though he's probably like 25, 26 years old in this. He still pulls off teenager totally fine. Everyone in this movie is very tan, and I think that helps a lot for sure.
Very tan.
Lots of tan, lots of sweat, lots of high contrast in this movie. But again, the cast is it's just great. Everyone does a good job in their roles.
I also respect Bay a lot because he loves shooting on film, always has, and I think still does. Except I'm sure with the parkour movie, he's doing some digital stuff. But his shooting of film, he likes to use the sun as his key. He likes to use incredibly high apertures, so everything's in focus. The contrast, like you said, the deep blacks, the deep shadows. It looks great. It works really well for action, and he doesn't care if an image gets blown out a little bit. There's shots in this film where you're in the car and the sun's behind like one of the actors, and it's totally blown out. But it's fine. He's not a perfectionist, and I think he's really a great purist of filmmaking with using celluloid, but on a large scale like this, it's great.
So that shot you're talking about where Michaela and Sam are in the car and they're driving, right?
Yeah.
Behind both their windows, it's just pure white.
Yeah.
It's just, I was trying to figure out, is it either overexposed or they're just filming somewhere and overexposed on purpose to, do.
I'm not sure if Shia's reverse was blown out.
They both are. They're both insanely blown. I'm guessing it could have been just the lighting thing, but maybe they're like, oh, we have to shoot this real quick. We can only do this on the back lot. Just blow the fuck up behind them.
Yeah, maybe something like
just
that.
Super bright lights behind them. It looks like they're just backlit with studio lights.
But you'll never see that in other movies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it works fine.
It works fine.
Because then they pull into the lookout, But I want to talk about the music too.
Jablonski!
Steve Jablonski knocked it out of the park in this movie. And he had previously done The Island with Michael Bay.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And he scored a bunch of trailers before this. He actually did the trailers for this movie, which is really cool. I love when composers do that. And I think he did a wonderful job. And Hans Zimmer is his mentor.
Yeah, he worked there.
And he helped compose the score and some of the main themes for the film. But at the end of the day, I think Jablonski did a great job with the action. There are so many nods you can hear to Zimmer scores, but also Terminator. You can hear nods to Terminator. When the Terminators are fighting, like you hear the somewhere around there, and it's a lot of fun. But I think the music's fantastic. It's relentless, just like Michael Bay's filmmaking.
And the hologram pilot feels like the T800 or T1. What was it? T1000.
Which one are you talking about?
And T2.
Sure, yeah. Without the mustache.
Yeah, he has similar. He has like that robotic vibe to him.
Yeah,
sure. Reminds me of that,
like a Terminator. Yeah,
but Jablonski. Man, it's a really good. It's better than it should be. I think it's unbelievable how good it is, and it's honestly been one of my gym scores for 2 decades almost.
You work out?
I try to. Don't tell anyone that. You don't have to say that out loud. No. I mean, this is a bunch of the songs like Scorponock theme is fucking. That's one of my gym tracks, and then Arrival is when they're Autobots are falling from the sky. Really incredible use of string work. Choir work in this film is really cool. Like, I love when, what's that, the little guy's name? And he's hacking in the Air Force One.
I can't remember.
And it's like bass strings with just choir work. It sounds so cool. But then he came up with that cool Autobot theme. It's like that bow that you hear a lot. It's just one note that he lets echo. And I think that's just a really great theme of the film. When you hear that, you're like, this is a Transformers.
And again, I want to go back to, you were talking about the lighting.
Yes, the lighting.
It's fun, but also so much of the lighting makes no sense. Whenever we're on Sam's street at nighttime, it's like the moon is on his street. There's just a giant bright light at the end of the street. They're just blocking it with the palm tree. And I think Michael Bay's like, fuck it, who cares? Like, where's this bright white light coming from at night?
Yeah.
It's fine.
I think that's
it works.
They shot in a real neighborhood.
Yeah, it works. Yeah. It's like whatever. Like, it's one of the things that, it's not Dune. It's not a Scorsese picture. It's fine. It's a Michael Bay movie. He doesn't give a fuck. As long as it's late, you can see. It's fine. There's all this light pouring into the house at night. Where's it coming from? Who cares?
But also, how else are you going to get a wide shot of that real neighborhood without... You probably can't get onto everyone's property to do a proper light setup. So just shooting at the end of the street with putting giant lights up there is probably the only way they could have gotten those shots.
Probably.
But you know what? You and I noticed that, but the average audience is not going to even notice.
It's fine, but almost every movie has continuity issues.
Oh, tell us about them.
Even The Dark Knight has continuity issues. It happens a lot, whether it's like a character's mouth is not moving in one shot and they finish a line, dialogue, stuff like that. It's all over movies. Every movie, almost all of them have continuity
issues. Even
Coen
Brothers movies have them.
So there are a bunch in this one, though.
Let's hear them.
And so some of my favorite are Day into Night. So twice during action shots. First at the Saw Kent base and later with Bumblebee's fight with Barricade. The action starts in broad daylight, and in crazy, impossible short amount of time, it goes to black at night.
I didn't even notice.
And then we have when Sam is running from barricade and hits Michaela, who is riding a moped. They fall on the ground. The moped is clearly visible laying on the ground next to them. But then the next shot is zoomed out. It's a wider shot, and the moped's gone. It's just disappeared, even though she's wearing the helmet. Next, we have when the Autobots are in vehicle mode. This is what I never understood. They're cleanly polished, like brand spanking new, shiny. However, when they transform into robot mode, their shells, they're all covered in dents, rust, scratches, even scenes without combat. They're just fucked up.
Driving on Route 66, they're sparkling clean, though.
They're always polished when they transform to vehicles. Michaela, Megan Fox, her nail polish there's no consistency at all. Sometimes she has red nails. Sometimes she has no paint on her nails at all. Sometimes it's chipped off. It's just all over the place. Her nail polish, they're like, what are we doing today? I don't know. It's all over the place. The donut scene with Anthony Anderson. This is one of those things, like even in Django Unchained, the beer, it's constantly different levels. The donuts on the table when he eats all the donuts, constantly there's like a shot where there's no donut left. There's a shot where there's a donut and a half left not eaten. There's a shot with like even more donuts.
There's a one with a full single donut.
It's all over. It's all over the place. It's pretty funny. And then here we go. When Maggie, the analyst, the hacker, she goes to Glenn's house to ask him to hack into this device, right? She's wearing a short skirt. After she's with Glenn, Sam, and Michaela, and they're dropped off at the Hoover Dam, her skirt is replaced with calf-length jeans. And the rest of her outfit hasn't changed. It's like the same day, but she changed her pants from skirt to jeans.
Originally, her first look it's like she's got this boho LA girl look, like bohemian flowy, and it's like she's a hacker. That makes no sense to me. I'm sorry, that's not the same person.
And then another fun one. This is the last fun one. I'm poking fun, but it's a good time.
Keep having fun, man.
So when the Sector 7 members with Totoro, they first show up to the Witwicky house. And this is after the power in the entire neighborhood's gone out, right? Because one of the Autobots bumped into the Transformer. Funny little nod. A Transformer bumped into a Transformer.
Even put that together, man.
So Agent Simmons, played by Totoro, he peers through the mail slot, right? He also rings the doorbell. There's no power. How's the doorbell ring?
Oh. It's not a bell. Because it's not an actual bell
Ratchet
on a string.
took out the power lines. And so a little thing, but
there's also a light on in one of the rooms, pouring light into the hallway when the parents are walking through the hallway with flashlights. It's like, where's that light coming from? I get it.
Lots of continuity things. There's so many more, but those are some of the best ones.
There's some cool stuff about. So obviously, there's so much insane stunt work in this film, but first up, the stunt driving is insane. There's amazing stunt driving in this movie. My favorite part was probably when the Optimus Prime vehicle does a 180 on the freeway, like. That was insane.
That's fucking nuts.
Incredible stunt driving, especially interacting with each other on the freeways and stuff. And so most of this was done practically with real drivers, and they were disguised in the vehicles. So they would wear
because it had to be look like no one's driving.
Exactly. So they would both wear dark clothing to blend into the furniture and upholstery inside the vehicles, and then also for the shots they would like bend down a little bit. But they were actual stunt drivers steering all of those cars. But they did it practically by hiding them.
Imagine having to pull a 180, like peering below the dash of an 18-wheeler.
There is one 18-wheeler where Michael Bay and one of the producers put themselves in, or was it, I think, the DP. So they shot themselves in front of green screens doing reactions of like screaming as in this scene, this truck is being torn in half. And they just composited them in there. So there's a shot of Michael Bay as the truck driver passenger screaming as it's being torn to shreds.
I was looking for his cameo. I didn't even notice it.
Yeah, it's a funny cameo. It's great.
Of the three storylines, right, we have Sam and Michaela.
Yes.
With eventually linking up with the Transformers. Then we have the analysts. And then we have the Special Forces guys. Mm-hmm. Which is your favorite storyline in the first, 30 minutes
Sam and Michaela.
Yeah.
It's very funny. It's entertaining. It's my favorite storyline for the whole movie because the other two end up getting a little boring.
Yeah. His lines are so funny and they're so cringe. They're silly. He's always flubbing things. He's always actually saying sexually charged things.
Yeah, I remember when we were 18, 17, everybody was doing the muscle thing. Yeah, I have a light here that reflects off the disco ball. We were all doing it. Like this was hilarious for us when we were this age.
It was pretty funny.
I think they did the comedy really well. I think the parent stuff is great. It goes. I would say that the scene where the Autobots are hiding around the Witwicky home, that goes for about 5 minutes too long.
At least.
It's like, we get the joke, guys, and they literally hide from the parents like 6 times. It's like, you can cut a lot of this out. We did not need all this in the film. I don't know what they just kept prolonging that. It's funny. The happy time joke is great, but like, there's like 6 instances where they have to hide from the eyes of the parents, and it's like, we get it. Let's get things going, guys.
It's funny, but I want to keep things going. But first, I want to run to our intermission. All right, and then we'll come back and we'll talk more about Transformers. And before we continue, the best way to support Raiders of the Lost podcast, you know how. Become a patron today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost podcast, because every patron gets access to all kinds of different perks, like weekly bonus episodes of the show, ad-free versions of every single episode so you can watch without the commercial breaks, as well as access to our Discord. We have 5 different tiers of membership. For as little as a $10 annual membership, you can be a member of our Patreon, and every tier costs a little more but comes with more and more perks as you go up the ladder. Patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost podcast. Another great way to support the show. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. These reviews help us get seen by new people, help us chart on podcast charts. We just hit 21 on Spotify, TV, and film in America last week, which was huge for us, really big news. But keep those reviews coming because it helps people see our show, helps people give us a chance at listening. Subscribing on YouTube is also insanely beneficial because YouTube, we have broken 50,000 subs, which was so hard to do. We're trying to hit 100,000 by the end of the year. We'll see if we can pull that off. But thank you to everyone who has been supporting us there as well, in addition to the audio platforms for streaming. Another great way to support the show is just share us. Word of mouth is the best way for a podcast to grow organically. So tell your friends about us. Share our Instagram videos, our TikTok videos. Interact with us on social media platforms. Leave those comments on YouTube. Every little bit helps.
This episode, of course, is sponsored by our friends at movieposters.com, the #1 place to get your posters online today. Be sure to use our promo code Raiders10 at movieposters.com, and that will get you 10% off your order immediately. They have a huge selection of pretty much every film and TV show imaginable in their poster library, as well as all sorts of sizes, framing, and even backlighting for your poster needs. They have everything from your favorite Hollywood blockbuster like Transformers to your favorite Hollywood classic, as well as a ton of international movie posters. They also have alternate poster selections and collectibles like lobby cards and original movie poster prints. If you're a fan of film, if you're a collector of art, go to movieposters.com and get your posters there right now with our coupon code Raiders10, which will get you 10% off your order. Immediately.
All right, let's get into our intermission and start with Cinephile, the movie card game that we got for Christmas, where you pull a card. Every card has an actor or actress's face on it. And what we do is Jim Carrey. So just this is a perfect one. So what we do is we go back and forth trying to name Jim Carrey movies until someone can no longer do it. You cannot say Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, though.
Ace Ventura.
Ace Ventura 2.
Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber 2.
What's it called, though?
TOO.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The Mask.
Unfortunately, he's not in The Mask 2.
Wait, what can't we say?
Eternal Sunshine.
Okay, gotcha.
The Truman Show.
The Man on the Moon. Man on the Moon.
Yes, Man.
Good one. Liar, liar.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Bruce Almighty.
Nice. I wonder, does he have a cameo in Evan? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. All right, my boy Jim.
Jimbo.
Jimmy. Boom, boom. And then boom. Sonic
2.
Sonic 3.
I love you, Philip Morris.
All right. Now we're getting into it.
Deep tracks now.
Deep tracks of Jim Carrey. My guy. You said The Mask. We said Ace Ventura.
Mm-hmm. You got this. Come on.
No. Just give me a sec. Just thinking, man. Just thinking about life.
You should be thinking about Jim Carrey.
Oh yeah, that's right, Jim Carrey. Think about Jim Carrey. Crap. Man, I'm blanking right now. I'm just taking up too much time.
Me, Myself, and Irene. Number 23.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know, you only have to say one answer. No, you can't help yourself.
Sorry. You did great, man.
Shut up. All right, movie quote competition time.
No. Oh, yeah. Go for it.
All right, turn your hearing aids up. I got great news. We're extending arts and crafts by 4 hours today. My fingers hurt. What's that? My fingers hurt. Oh, well, now your back's going to hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty. Anyone else's fingers hurt? Didn't think so.
Happy Gilmore.
Yep.
All right, here's mine. Sir, I'm retired Navy. I know all about classified. But one more thing. The person that finds her gets to name her, right? Yes, that's right. I want to name her Dottie after my wife. She's a vicious, life-sucking bitch from which there's no escape.
Fucking Hannah?
Armageddon. He's talking about the asteroid.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Anthony, guess this movie release year. The Rock.
1997.
96. You were so close, man.
So close. What year did Armageddon come out?
1997.
98. You were so close. I
right.
feel like we've been here before.
Pop quiz time. How many Ben Stiller directed movies can you name?
Reality Bites.
1,
Zoolander.
2,
Zoolander 2.
3.
Directed. What else? Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
4.
James is nodded so positively. He's
You're
like
doing
very
great.
encouraging.
I want you to win, man.
Thanks, man. I feel like that's it.
There's 2 more.
2 more. What are they?
I'm a lead farmer, motherfucker.
Oh my god!
Tropic Thunder. And then
So dumb.
I'm the cable guy.
Oh my god, Cable Guy.
Guy.
That was the second one.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That was a good question. Yeah. He's directed quite a few.
Yeah, 6 movies. Plus, he does a bunch of Severance episodes.
Yeah. Most. Oh, sorry, Severance.
Yeah, he doesn't.
All right. What was Michael Bay's first feature film as director?
Fucking. Stop Bad Boys. I don't know what.
Bad Boys.
Is it Bad Boys?
Yeah. You did that yesterday.
Well, I said if it's not Bad Boys, then I don't know.
No.
That's what I said. If it's not Bad Boys, I don't know. That's what I said.
Is that an answer though?
Yeah.
That's an answer.
Yeah.
I feel like you said I don't know.
I said if it's not Bad Boys, I don't know.
Why did you just say Bad Boys?
Because I said Bad Boys, but I'm like if it's not, I don't know what it is.
Okay, I'll give you. Okay.
That's
the way you phrased it was just weird.
Wow, that's his first movie.
Yeah, that's his first movie.
Do we have any haters this week yet?
Oh, yeah.
Unsubscribes in this
Yeah.
episode. What are we looking at?
We got a bunch. So first up, we have. Oop, that's not an unsubscribe.
I'm gonna pull up a 5-star review while you do that.
Os10. Sandy wasn't in Judge Dredd. That was Diane Lane. Unsubscribed.
Oh!
I said 3 Sandy
I
movies.
know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No, you would have won anyways.
Yeah.
But I'm just like.
MN Mechi saying Gen Z wouldn't like a Pokemon movie because we'd be offended was such a millennial thing to say. Unsubscribed. James said it.
Definitely was a
James said
millennial
it.
thing to say.
I did not say it. Joe Bast on Mindfuck Movies. Awesome podcast, but sadly, because of the language in the title of this video, I have to unsubscribe.
You put an asterisk.
I think, yeah, they were joking, though. It's an unsubscribe.
Yeah.
They weren't serious.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't think Joe is really offended.
It was a fun title.
Yeah.
Anthony came up with that.
It was great.
Yeah.
All right, Nick Pesquet. The commitment to consistent quality uploads is sickening. Unsubscribe.
It honestly is. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work, guys.
It's insane.
It's a lot of work, so we appreciate that.
Royal Red. Well, at least you moved on from saying Joker At least you moved on from saying jerker, folly adieu, to joker, folly adieu. I guess I need to give you guys a pass because of the Boston accents. I'm sadly forced to resubscribe. JK, love the show. Keep it up. P.S. It's pronounced joker, folly adieu.
Folly adieu.
Adieu.
Well, when we did the press junket, a British journalist
Oh my God.
taught us how to really say it, but he's very pompous about it.
He was saying Americans never know how to say any French words, and it's like, yeah, because we don't live right next to France.
I don't know any French people.
French people are all over England.
I know.
They're all over England. They're everywhere in England. Also, English people go to France all the time. We have zero exposure with French people.
Except I can't remember
French
movies.
Yeah, I can't remember last time I spoke to a French person in real life.
That is from France?
Yeah.
Well, a person in our movie, one of the actors in One Click is French.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
Leia.
Oh, yeah. What?
She's from France.
All right.
So I interact with French people all the time.
Did she speak French?
In the movie?
No, to you.
No.
So
But she is French. She has an accent and everything.
All right, next up, Brian Salvador. You have the minimum amount of my attention, but yes, I got that Social Network reference. Did I adequately answer your condescending question? Subscribe. MJ Guloda. After listening to over half y'all episodes, I could finally distinguish between y'all's voices, so I will not be unsubscribing today. Happy to hear that, MJ. Takes a while.
It does take a while.
My mom still struggles. Just a chill guy. The Odyssey is my fave. Well, Epic, the musical, is my fave, but still, Tom Holland has to be Temecula's Odie's son, or I will unsubscribe. P.S. Anthony, you need to upgrade your phone. That's been in my chest forever. P.S. Say the asterisk.
Thank you. Thank you. See, I'm saying the asterisk every time I say Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts asterisk.
They put it there.
They put it there. They did put it there. Say the asterisk. That's it for today.
All right, we have a great 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. If you leave a written review on Apple Podcasts, it will get read on the show 100%, and it'll be immortalized forever. And we love everyone just kind of outdoes each other in a lot of ways. It's so fun, and I love to read them. So this is from Ro Corin, or R Corin 21. Subject head from R Corin 21. Stuff happens. 5 stars. A common way we describe plot. My absolute favorite film and TV podcast, more cine than file, which is great. I love the banter. It makes me feel like I'm 5 years old on a play date, and James and Anthony's mom is going to walk in any second and make them stop fighting. If I had to sum up this podcast in a bad movie review style, I'd say twins fight about stuff happening. Love you guys. R. Corin, thank you so much for that wonderful inside joke review.
Stuff happens.
Man, I love it.
It's great.
It's one of my favorite, like, stuff happens. What happens
If we can't remember the plot, we just say stuff
happens.
That's a sign that we can't remember it.
All right, Anthony, what's your streaming recommendation for this film?
The Two Popes on Netflix.
Nice.
A really great film.
I have never seen it.
You should watch it. It's great acting.
That's Anthony Hopkins, right?
Yes. One of the goats.
All right. And then my streaming recommendation is The Wild Robot on Peacock. Just dropped a couple weeks ago on there.
Uh-huh. That's sweet.
Absolutely wonderful, wonderful film. Just groundbreaking animation. All right, let's get into Transformers, baby.
Oh, yeah.
And overall, this story is pretty solid. You know, the Megatron in the 1800s crash lands to Earth.
What an idiot. Dude died in a hang gliding accident.
He's been stuck frozen for over a century. Sam's great-great-grandfather finds him on an Arctic journey to the North Pole, and the government has had Megatron in holding in a bunker secretly beneath 400 feet of concrete at the Hoover Dam.
I love how their excuse was, we've had no reason to suspect that it's a threat. Look at the guy's face. He has fucking fangs.
There's a reason why you're freezing him. And I like this because it's a fun way for people to explain, you know, the emergence of just recent technologies. You know, everything's come from reverse engineering this. It's just playing with Area 51, aliens crash landing on Earth, the theories, the conspiracies, reverse engineering, all that. And I think it's pretty clever. And I like how Sam is the descendant of this guy who discovered Megatron over 150 years previously in a frozen state. and the government's been keeping him frozen. And obviously, because Megatron was looking for the Allspark, which is the really source of energy and power for the Autobots and Decepticons in their homeworld, which has been lost after the Civil War on their planet and destroyed and been lost into outer space, crashing into asteroids until it landed on Earth, which Megatron was tracking before he crash landed. And ice. What an idiot!
Dude died in a hang gliding accident. Sorry, I just was like, oh my god, that's just like exactly it.
So I think it's a solid setup for getting Megatron or getting Autobots and Decepticons to Earth at some point.
So this movie also has a lot of references to The Thing.
Oh,
yeah. So Megatron is like the crash ship in The Thing, and also Frenzy, who is the little dude who is like ninjaing his way around people. When he gets cut in half by the Sawzall from Michaela, he ends up becoming a spider with a head.
Oh my god!
And he's just like the Thing spider with the head.
That's great,
so
man.
I think those are two absolute homages to The Thing.
Great connection, man.
Thank you, man.
Nice job picking that up.
Thanks.
So impressed.
You know, I love The Thing. That's
but
why.
It's a good way to set up the plot. And I like how Sam, he has these artifacts that his great-grandfather has left to the family. He's trying to hawk them during his presentation, the eBay sale. He doesn't know yet that the glasses have the navigation coordinates of the location of the Allspark imprinted on the glasses from when his great-grandfather looked at Megatron and accidentally turned on the navigation functions.
Ladies Man 217.
Can you imagine being someone from the 19th century and discovering that?
A robot.
There's no way your brain could even fathom what the fuck that is.
Yeah,
How
it
could
would
you
be like
possibly?
it would be like an alien.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
100%.
You couldn't. There's not even mechanics have been invented. Machines aren't even around.
Well, yeah, like
Except for
autonomous
a printing
machines.
press. That's it.
Well, they're trains.
Trains.
What was the 1830s?
Was it 1830s?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
He
think
said
it's-
great
I think
grandfather.
it's like
great
1834.
grandfather. So it can't be too long.
I'm not
ago.
sure when trains were.
They were around.
in
Hold on,
America.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there was a train or something.
A train.
When were trains invented? 1804.
1804.
First steam-powered railway built in 1804 in Wales.
In England, yeah.
And then in America, yeah, he would have been aware of trains. The first one was built in 1826 in America.
So trains existed.
Yeah, they existed.
But
They were like the spaceships of their day.
Yeah, but it's a fun way for the film to go back in time. I like when we're in the Arctic and it's just like the whole movie's robots, action, contemporary, then 3 shifts and flashbacks to the Arctic Circle. It's super fun.
Yeah, it's The Thing, man.
That's a great connection.
And also, they fight off Frenzy with a flamethrower.
Oh my
on
god,
the
dude.
Hoover Dam. He uses a flamethrower through the doors to fight him off.
That's great.
It's insane.
And I know it's never really clearly spelled out for you that Bumblebee is tracking Sam because it's too much of a coincidence for him to buy the car that is connected.
I feel like it's implied well.
Yeah. But I think, the first time I saw this movie, I didn't pick up on that immediately in the plot exposition, but you figure it out eventually. That,
when he blows up all the windows of the other vehicles at the shop, at the dealership, you're like, okay, he wants Sam to buy him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. And Sam buying his first car, like I said, major part of becoming an adult in America is buying your first car. It's very common out here. And then, realizing it's a Transformer. It's a fun way to get the plot going. I like the boy in his car, boy trying to get the girl storyline. It's obviously cliched, but it works. It fits the bill. It's great for marketing. It's great for people to connect to, especially because this movie's for kids. This movie's for teenagers. We were prime age when it came out, 16 years old. This movie kicked so much ass. And like I said, I love the storyline of just like a teenager trying to get the girl, trying to get the car. It's classic.
I mean, that's like a lot of teenage boys. They're like, they have a crush and they're like, oh man, I just want to talk to her, and you're too scared to, you know what I mean? So he represents that, This is a movie made for specifically for 14 to 17-year-old boys,
Yeah.
I feel like.
And the opening scene, like you said, it's freaking badass.
It's great.
We
It's
have
really
the
good.
helicopter, the mysterious helicopter coming to the base and attacking the base. It's so cool. And, seeing that first Transformer transformation was an absolute blast. It's really exciting, even though it's at nighttime. And then following the Special Forces from there. And we have our main 3 storylines set up where we have the Special Forces on the run after the attack at the Air Force Base. Then we have the analysts who come in for the NSA to start to figure out what this signal is. This sound, this is all they have is a clue or evidence of what's happening, and they find out that robot, whatever it was trying to hack into the system. Even though they don't have a visual yet, they just have the audio signal. They don't even know that it's a giant robot. And then Sam, not even worried about Transformers yet, just trying to get the girl.
Yeah.
It shows the stakes are just so different between, the government versus these people on the run, and then just Sam just trying to get his crush.
And then he's the key to saving the world.
It's a good way to make your kid, the boy, just the hero of the world. It's clever.
And I mean, I gotta say, Sam was an absolute baller at the end of the film when Optimus Prime was like, put the cube in my chest, and then Megatron's about to kill Optimus, and he puts it in Megatron's chest. That was a fucking great move.
Yeah.
That was a great move.
It's good. No, Sam's an awesome character.
Yeah.
I think it's one of my favorite that Shia has done. He's done incredible movies, and obviously this is a big blockbuster with the fighting robots, but I like Sam a lot.
I like Sam. He's funny.
He brings a lot to the role.
Yeah. So he was in just 3 of them. The first 3?
Shia?
Yeah.
And I believe
Dark of the Moon was the last one he did?
I believe they're trying to develop another one with Shia coming back.
With Shia?
Yeah.
Really? Have you read about that?
I saw a headline recently about them developing it and bringing Shia back.
Shia LaBeouf. Transformers return Shia LaBeouf. Shia said he would not return. Blah, 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 blah. But, yeah, I mean, that might be an old news story. Yeah. I don't know.
I think you're right. It seems like his blockbuster days are behind him.
Doesn't seem like it's movie
outside of Megalopolis.
Well, he got to play an interesting character in that at least.
True.
But that's a different thing. This is
true.
You could see in Honey Boy how the production of a giant blockbuster is not engaging for him as an actor.
I think Jon Voight's really good as sort of the military leader, as the Secretary of Defense in this movie. He does a really good job. And I love the joke on George Bush. In Air Force One, they open the door, his Red Sox are blocking his face, and he asks the stewardess, the flight attendant, to get him some ding-dongs. It's so funny. Hey, can you ring me some ding-dongs, darling? It's just a classic joke on that president. I think that was a lot of fun.
So there's a moment in this film during the desert raid when they're battling Scorponock, and Josh Duhamel makes a phone call and has to use a credit card to get through. It's called the Pentagon.
Yeah.
I've always been like, that's such a BS thing. Like he's using a phone to call the Pentagon. It's actually based on a real story. This was inspired by a real life anecdote a soldier told Michael Bay during filming. During the Grenada invasion, a unit lost its radio during an attack, but found a nearby telephone line. So one of the soldiers in the unit gave his credit card to get through to the Pentagon.
So, what's the credit card for? To call to a different country?
Yes.
I'm guessing, through a telemarketer.
Yeah.
So that's what that guy's doing.
Yeah, it's not to call the Pentagon. It's not for the credit card, but to get through. And they must have some kind of signature code to get through.
Damn, that's pretty crazy.
So that's based off like a real event, which I've always thought was like, that's so dumb, but it's like, oh, that's true. That's really
I love that scene though, because it just shows that the might of the military in a contemporary war, just how powerful it is, and then the different weapons at their disposal, but also showing what an airstrike really could look like in terms of the different methods of airstrikes you can do, whether it's just the rain of bullets, then missiles, but then the large shell bullets, the large shell round, the 105 rounds, like very cool.
It's great. I really like the Scorponock chase, because like the Scorponock scene is like a scene where you see like people like literally getting stabbed and murdered and murked by the Transformer, the Decepticon of this. It also has that great shot of Duhamel, Tyrese, and one other guy running towards camera, and then the Scorponocks exploding out of the desert sand behind them in slow motion, and it's one of the best shots in the film. And that was actually all real, and it was achieved by detonating a primer cord underneath the sand behind the actors. The explosions were in very close proximity to the actors and were very dangerous for them to be in the scene. So before it was shot, Michael Bay told the actors to run and keep running no matter what happens, or else they could be seriously injured or even worse, killed by the effect. As a result, the look of panic on the actors' faces as they flee from Scorponock in the scene is one of 100% genuine emotion.
The Special Forces team, it just leans into the cliche stereotype of every like member of the crew that you see in so many movies, like even like Predator. It's pretty funny. You even have like the East Coast guy, and this is a Boston guy. The Boston accent in this movie, it's not good.
Dreadful.
It's a pretty bad Boston accent.
Actually, I didn't even realize he was from Boston. It was so bad.
Yeah, well, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about Fenway.
Oh yeah.
It's like you go to Fenway and get a sausage and peppers or whatever.
Go to fucking Yankee Way, guy. Fucking Spotlight. Have you guys seen Spotlight yet?
Spotlight. Transformers Spotlight. But they just lean into the Special Forces, Army stereotype characters so hard. And I think they do it for fun on purpose.
It's fun. It
fine. Works.
Yeah, it's whatever. You're not expecting like great character work when they have such little screen time. I will say, like the last 30 minutes of this movie, it really is just like an onslaught of insane action and camera whips and explosions. And it is difficult to keep track of everything and which side is which. And it does, honestly, as bombastic and insane and huge as it is, it honestly does it feels like this is going a little too long, the huge LA battle.
I was definitely a little drained at mid battle.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I said, his filmmaking, it's so exciting and energetic and propulsive and in your face and doesn't let you go. But after like an hour and a half of this movie, I would say when it's really starting to heat up in terms of the climax and the big battles, I was getting cooked, man.
Yeah.
I was getting drained. My brain was a little like, oh my God.
It's too much overstimulation. And
It's
you
insane.
It loses any emotional pull and narrative stakes. And it's just like more just robots fighting, explosions happening.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's
That's
cool.
the style.
Yeah.
But when you do that, even with the dialogue scenes, even in the analyst room, I think the only time the camera isn't moving like crazy is the interrogation room, honestly.
I think you're right. And when it's mounted to the cars for the dialogue. But there's another cool fun fact about another brand that they wanted to get involved. They wanted to use, so in the scene in the Hoover Dam, when Turturro takes them into the Sector 7 headquarters and then into that small room where they perform tests with the radiation, and they use Nokia, and they use the radiation to turn the Nokia into a tiny transformer. Michael Bay wanted to use an iPhone because it was an iPod. Sorry, it was before iPhone. It was iPod, but what's his fucking name? Steve Jobs.
The most famous CEO in the last 50 years.
Steve Jobs refused to let them use the iPod in the scene, so then they ended up going with the Nokia. I think he didn't want the iPod associated with murderous robot.
Well, they have a stipulation that you can have iPhones in movies, but they can't be for villains.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
They changed that in the last few years.
So villains can have iPhones
Yeah.
now?
Because it's getting to the point where it's like no one believes every villain uses a Galaxy or
Or Android.
There's no way they're using green text bubbles. I'm sorry. It's not happening.
You know, I think this movie does a good job of holding Megatron for a while. Do you think they hold on to that card, though, for too long? Because Megatron isn't a factor until really the last half hour of the movie.
I would say if they had shown some kind of flashback sequence, they show like Megatron spearing an Autobot in the chest
on their planet.
But if they had shown like a more significant narrative sequence and scene of showing the power and ruthless destruction that Megatron has, then it would have added the stakes, because then you're like, oh man, I hope they really don't thaw him out.
Yeah, I mean, we really only see Megatron frozen for the most part, multiple times, besides the flashback to the home world in the opening sequence. And I think it works for to an extent, but I would have liked to see Megatron a little sooner in terms of being unfrozen.
Yeah.
Because the stakes, the last half hour, like I said, the stakes are so high. But again, it's a bit overwhelming how big the stakes are so quickly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, they do bounce around locations unbelievably quickly. Like they bounced from Los Angeles to the Hoover Dam. The Autobots are like driving down Route 66. Somehow get there in time.
Going 82 miles per
They're
hour.
like in Death Valley, but they get to the Hoover Dam in the next shot. And then when they escape the Hoover Dam, and I'm talking Sam and the others, they get to downtown LA in literally like 3 minutes of screen time. And it's just like, I was like, they were just in Nevada. Now they're fighting in downtown LA on Broadway.
I think Michael Bay just knows, like, no
He's
one
like,
cares.
yeah,
It works.
No one gives a shit.
It
Yeah.
fucking works.
Yeah.
Just like the continuity error is like, whatever, we're shooting, we're running and gunning. Fuck it.
I was like, people were mad about Game of Thrones season 8. Like, damn. They literally appeared in downtown LA.
And I think that in addition to Bumblebee being such a fan favorite, Optimus Prime is really solid in this movie, but I think they did a better job fleshing him out even more throughout the franchise later on.
Yes.
Becoming more charismatic in a lot of ways and more relatable, because he's good in this movie, but he's sort of just bestowing wisdom here and there. But I think that they did a better job with Optimus Prime going forward afterwards. All the Autobots in general, really.
I mean, if you think about it, this is a huge ensemble cast of characters, so you can't give anyone very much screen time.
Yeah.
There's a huge amount of actors and just characters. I will say something that's really cool that I'd never noticed before until this rewatch is that when the Autobots first land to Earth, they are like their natural states of their appearances, and then it's not until they interact and copy a car they take on the attributes, colors, and mechanics of those vehicles. So like when Optimus Prime first lands on like that hilltop in downtown LA, he's just like, he kind of looks like Megatron in a way. He's just all gray and has more of the natural shapes of an Autobot from the home planet. But it's not until he copies the 18-wheeler that he becomes the Optimus Prime we know. Same thing with all the other Autobots. They have like a more natural skin and mechanical look. It's more organic. And then when they find the vehicles they like, they take on those attributes. That's something I never noticed before until seeing this film.
That's a good point. Yeah. That's right. Because they're sort of like, they land in the dark. It's dark,
Yes.
so you can't see too much detail.
So you see Optimus Prime. The first time you see him is he doesn't look like Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a really, really smart. It's like, doesn't make sense for him to land and be blue and red like an 18-wheeler on Earth.
With
Doesn't make any
flame
sense.
stripes and flame decals.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense at all. So I thought that was a great detail.
But overall, the third act is just action-packed. It's a lot of fun. It's great. This is a great popcorn flick.
Yeah.
And, the big battle at the end is really solid. It's got a lot of give and take, power shifts. And, you feel hopeless for a bit for your characters, for your leads. Bumblebee losing his legs is so tragic, but Michaela hooking him up onto the tow truck is really cool. She drives him away, only to drive him back for that cool moment. I have to get Bumblebee out of here. Then they're like, you know what? Let's go back.
Let me get him back in there.
And Sam getting the cube from from Optimus Prime, trying to keep it away from Megatron. I like the sequence, then going up to the top of that building. Really cool. Overall, it's just really solid. It's blocked really well, even though, like Anthony said, oftentimes the camera's moving so much you don't know exactly what's happening sometimes.
Well, even when it's not moving, you don't know which Transformer is which sometimes.
It's tough to tell between the Autobots and Transformers.
It is tough.
I mean, the Autobots and Decepticons.
And then I think that's the point where it's hard to watch that 30 minutes of it because you're like, I don't even know who's who sometimes. I really don't. But there's some really fun stunts like Shia on the corner of the top of that building around the statue. That was really done. They just put a wire on him and he's really standing right there. There was no net, no safety. What do you call it? That they would land on a pad. And so
there's no pad 800 feet below on the ground.
I don't know about 800 feet.
That's pretty high.
800 feet's pretty tall. It looked like about 200 feet.
Okay, 200 feet.
You see people fall for stunts on and blown up.
No, I'm kidding.
Wow. Didn't even work, man. But I think that's doing stuff like that is fun. It really makes a difference in because you can really see he's probably like really freaking out because I'd be freaking out if I was up there. It's pretty intense.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you're safe. You're wired in.
Yeah.
I think that'd be sick.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I would totally do that.
Do it.
I mean,
do it. Go to India. Go to India.
Looks like your computer has chickenpox. Knocked up reference.
Speaking of computers, like I love how like simple and fast Anthony Anderson takes to like hack this signal. He like just puts it in his computer,
just zooms in,
and suddenly we have all these new features that the fucking NSA and CIA couldn't figure out. It's like, what do you even do?
He's playing Dance Dance
He just
Revolution.
like hit spacebar, and then all of a sudden, on his like square block computer, it's like he got it hacked. And it's like, what did he even do?
He's so funny in this movie.
He's great. He's hilarious.
In terms of hacker characters, he doesn't do any hacking.
Doesn't do anything.
They just plug it into his computer.
They put the card into his computer and it was hacked.
I love how it's a 2 gigabyte SD card.
They kept showing that thing.
Yeah.
They kept showing that.
That's a big deal back then.
Yeah,
2 gigabyte SD card.
They didn't even know what a terabyte was back
2007.
then. 2 gigs was huge.
That was a big deal.
Like, oh man, we gotta make sure the audience sees this. It's 2 gigs.
You buy 2 gigs.
We spared no expense in this production.
Man, this movie's great. I love it.
It's a good time.
It was a fun rewatch. It really was.
It's a fun movie. It's light.
I get why people love it. It's kind of like a cult classic for action now. It's like an era that doesn't exist anymore. The 2000s, Linkin Park. Post
one of the best memes of recent memory.
Post grunge. Oh yeah, like every Michael Bay movie ending. Dun, dun, dun,
Any movie anyway,
na, 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 na.
What I've
It's
done.
like if Michael Bay directed Dune.
Yeah.
It's-
It's great.
Linkin Park was so big.
They were the I think the biggest rock band alive.
Yeah,
At their
pretty big.
peak.
Sam
Still
has
huge.
the sickest room too.
Even though he doesn't skate at all in this movie, he's got decks everywhere and skater paraphernalia everywhere.
He's just got cool stuff everywhere.
He doesn't do one second of skating in this movie.
I like Mojo with his cast.
Yeah, that's great.
Mojo's cute.
Mojo with the cast is great.
But yeah, everyone's good. The chemistry between Shia and Megan Fox is really great. Megan Fox kills it in this role. Like I said, everyone fell in love with her. Looking in the engine in the sunset behind her, like what a shot!
The abs.
It's like fucking awesome. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Transformers.
Yeah, it's Transformers. Yeah.
I mean,
He knew what he was doing when he was casting.
yeah. I love the phones though in this movie.
The phones are great. Not even
slide.
the flip ones, but the slides. There's so many slides
Slide
in this
open.
movie. Yeah.
Oh my god! When Sam's doing the recording of
Yeah.
he sees Bumblebee transforming for the first time, you can see on the screen it's the main menu. It's not even the camera mode.
Great stuff.
Fucking hell! All right, I mean, end of the day,
Yeah, it's a Transformers movie.
stuff happens.
Yeah. Stuff happens.
Plot. You got anything else on Transformers?
I got nothing at all. That's it. That was a lot of stuff.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, we did a lot of BTS stuff.
Also,
and
I would say I think that after this movie, everybody got a Strokes shirt.
the Strokes were big.
Everybody got a Strokes t-shirt. I
Man,
think.
I wonder what it took to get that in the movie. You know, Sam wearing the Strokes shirt in almost all the scenes of the film.
It's good marketing. For
It
them.
was a
Man.
cool up and coming band at the time.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe that's all it was.
What do you mean? Like it was difficult to get the rights to it?
Like, no, did a label pay for that? How did they know what band to pick?
I'm sure that the costume designer was like, okay, here are some options for bands, and they probably went with what the best deal was and what worked best for negotiating
Yeah,
with
'cause
whatever label.
I'm sure the label paid for that.
Oh,
Just like
yeah,
the
yeah.
Mountain Dew.
Yeah, they have to get the rights to whatever it is. So, but I think the Strokes was a good pick because at this time they were still up and coming, getting very popular and great in the indie scene. So it matches his character with his room, even though he doesn't skate at all. Again, with all
You
those-
with the skating, like
he's got like 20 decks on his wall.
goodness, God
He
forbid.
didn't skate at all.
So what?
I'm saying. I didn't even see him. He never stepped foot on a skateboard. That's all I'm saying. Why make him look like a skater? He doesn't skate.
Maybe he hasn't skated. Maybe he twisted his ankle. I don't know. Hobbies come and go, man.
I'm just saying. There's 20 decks on his wall. That's all I'm saying.
So he skateboards, but he doesn't have to skateboard every day of his life.
I'm just saying.
You don't have to skate constantly if you're a skater. Just like I know how to ride a bike, Anthony. I'm not riding bikes constantly.
Yeah, but your room isn't decked out with bikes.
True. Good point.
You don't have bike decorations
Good
everywhere.
point. But I mean,
It's not your whole personality.
it's not a big deal for me.
I'm just saying, based on the decoration of the room, it seems like it's his whole personality.
No, there's way more than skating.
Punk music, indie music, and skating.
You're thinking too much of the Disturbia bedroom. This bedroom, he's got all kinds of stuff.
It's all
Techie
grunge.
stuff. He's got a goldfish in a bowl. He's got like
He has like the dream room for a kid that age.
he has like a chemistry cleaning station for sanitation from chemicals.
Why?
I don't know. It's not my bedroom. He's got all kinds of stuff in there. He's got metal shelving, like in a warehouse. He's got his own bathroom.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Did you even see his bed in this movie? Yeah, you see his bed. Michaela like hides behind the chair next to it.
Yeah. He's got a foosball table.
He's got a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He's got a good bedroom.
Spoiled
kid.
Yeah, he's a very spoiled kid.
Spoiled kid.
He suits the spoiled kid bill by yelling at his parents all the time. That's what spoiled kids do. They do yell at their parents a lot.
Oh man. All right, well, let's wrap up our Transformers episode. This is a good time to revisit. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's highly requested from our listeners.
Yeah, so hopefully this
Eases
fed
the appetite.
It fed the thirst and it gave y'all
Quench the thirst, fed the hunger.
Well, I was trying to say fed the appetite, but you beat me to appetite.
Yeah.
So I had to remix it halfway through.
Man, words are hard.
Quench the thirst.
Mountain
fever.
Dew.
Fever for Transformers. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this special episode of the action classic from 2007, Michael Bay. Make sure to leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on Spotify and Apple right now. If you leave a written review on Apple, I will read it on the show very soon. Become a patron today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Subscribe on YouTube, do all the things, share us, and take care, everybody.
See you next time. Well done.